Hey random people out there on the internet, it's the Mustang Ridge Wood Bandit. This is the next video in the series for beginners who are just getting into the craft and are looking to expand their tool collection. In the last video I spoke about my table saw. Today we're going to expand a little more. All of that being said, I do have quite a collection of tools, but I didn't acquire them all at once. You know, it was a slow process. And was guided by the projects and my desire to move up to the next level. So today we're going to talk about a miter saw. A miter saw, of course, is for cross-cutting wood for the most part. And a miter saw is, well, in my case, it's a compound miter saw. And I had to kind of get out of my budget a little bit because of my space. That being said, I said initially that how you decide to expand your tool collection is going to depend entirely on mainly three things. Number one, your space. How much space do you have and how much can you afford to lose to a tool? Number two is your budget. How much money are you willing to spend? And number three is what are you trying to achieve? Now, there are a lot of people out there that are what I would call elitist, in that they wouldn't dream of owning a tool that wasn't the top of the line. Festool and Capex and all these other very expensive and very good tools. For myself, my budget doesn't really let me do that. If you watched my last video, you saw that I purchased a Skill table saw for around $300 and then added another $75 to $100 worth of accessories so that I can do with it what you can do with a $1,000 saw. Well, again, I had to go out of budget a little bit because of my space for my miter saw. So let's take a look at it. This is my miter saw. Excuse me. It's a Delta Cruiser is what they call this. The reason I selected a Delta Cruiser and paid a little extra is it has these robot arms on it, as opposed to the metal tubes that have to stick out the back. If I had that with the metal tubes that stick out the back, I'd either have to cut a hole in my wall or bring the saw very far out here in order to be able to use it as a sliding miter saw. So you move this little catch here and you can bring it out like this. And you can cut a wide piece of wood like that. The reason they call it a compound miter saw is that you can tilt it by releasing this and moving the entire, well, I said you can. There we go. Anyway, so you can set it to whatever angle you want. For instance, that's set right at about 22.5 degrees, which would cut you a 612 rafter or something like that if you wanted to. Or if you're trying to make an octagon, you can cut 8 at 22.5 and you'll end up with 8-sided. This particular saw bevels to 45 degrees. We'll make sure that when you set it on 0 that it's nice and square. And the other feature, of course, is being able to cut angles. Again, it's 22.5 and it has stop points at certain measurements that are very common in woodworking. In this case, 22.5, 31.6, and 35.3, which is used for crown molding and things like that. You push the button, bring it over where it needs to be, and it'll lock down at 0, but you can also twist this knob to lock it at any interval that you like. Now, when I said crosscut, let's take a look at what that's supposed to mean. Now, this is just a piece of scrap wood, but anyway, when you're doing a cross cut, you're going across the grain. So that when you put it in here and make your cut, it goes across the grain. You may remember from the table saw video that going with the grain is a rip cut. Now, one of the downsides of miter saws is they have what they call deflection. So if you bring it down and bring it out, you can actually move it left and right just a little bit. You can see it moving down here. Well, obviously, if you do that while it's running and you're trying to cut something, it's not going to cut square. Okay, so you always need to keep that in mind. I would say again that what you do should be based entirely on those three things. What's your space? What's your budget? What are you trying to achieve? We did an initial project with the water dish and dog food food bowl so that we could set our bowls in there, and we could have done better. I can't tell you how you did, but I can tell you with mine, there were defects and some things I really wanted to do better. If you watched that video, you also saw that I used only a jigsaw for my cuts. Now that I've got the table saw and the miter saw, I can do a lot more precise cuts, and the quality of the work will be much better. In addition, it gives me the opportunity to make more complex items. Going back to the miter saw, one other thing that I would say is the ability to have repeatable cuts is important if you're cutting a lot of parts for a single thing. In my octagonal table build, I had to cut 80 pieces with bevels. That was most interesting. The way to make a repeated cut, again, grab you a piece of scrap wood, put it down onto your table, or if you need a longer one, you're going to have to clamp it way out here somewhere. But for the sake of demonstration, we're just going to put it right here. And all table saws, or I'm sorry, miter saws come with some kind of clamping device like this. When you tighten that down, okay, now when you take a piece of material, let's see if I can find one, and we'll just say this is the material. And I'm going to make several pieces that are all the same length, and I've set my block to here. I just slide it up there, make the cut, slide in another one, make the cut, and keep doing it. And what it is, well, the result will be is that each of those cuts will be identical, so that you don't have to sit and measure each cut or try to line them up, flush them up, or do whatever it is that you do. Anyway, so that is an explanation of the miter saw that I purchased. I want to say I gave about $350 for this particular saw. I bought it online off Menards while it was on sale. They go for about $400. There's an identical model that's made by Rigid. But again, the reason I did it is my shop is 9 feet wide and 22 feet long. For a woodworker, that's a pretty small shop. So I have to conserve space. If I didn't have to, I probably would have went with a less expensive model. But in any event, again, for you, where you go and how you go, you need to make those decisions for yourself. I'm only showing you what I did. In upcoming videos, we're going to keep expanding this tool collection and show you the next levels for each of the tools that you may want to get for your hobby. In the meantime, I really appreciate your views. If you like my channel, please join the others who have decided to subscribe. If you have a comment, feel free to make a comment. At the very least, maybe give me a thumbs up or even a thumbs down. Just let me know you're out there. And as always, be safe.